hesitate? Show no mercy.
You don't know the power of the dark side. We would be honored if you would join us. You don't know the power of the dark side. It is pointless to resist, my son.
Stretch out with your feelings. Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Hey, salute everyone. Welcome to the Bronx Bomber Strikes Back. I am your host, BX Porsche Jedi Kev. I hope you guys are doing well. It is, when recording this video here, is February the 16th day of the month. I hope you guys enjoy your Valentine's. And you know what that means? Pitcher and catchers for the New York Yankees have reported, as well as position players have reported to spring training. Hooray! Spring training, new hope. I am excited here. And first and foremost, before we get this program started, I want to take a moment here to remember this afternoon, we heard the passing of great color analyst, broadcaster, Tim McCarver. We all know him. Well, if you go back to my generation, I'm going to age myself here. Remember when he was with Ralph Kiner? He started off with me as a Met broadcaster. When, to my knowledge, we all know he is a great St. Louis Cardinal catcher, cutting his teeth there. When I think of World Series in my generation, I'm none other than Tim McCarver, an analyst who personally I really enjoy his calls on that World Series. It didn't feel like a World Series without a Tim McCarver in there. No matter who you paired him with, Buck or whoever he teamed up with, he was just a staple. I remember when the Mets and the Mets parted ways. I know he came over to the Yankee broadcast with Mercer. I enjoyed him also broadcasting the Yankees national level. Tim McCarver, an inspiration. I really love the way he talked about the game, the way he articulated, the way he just brought you the different insights. A pioneer and Hall of Famer in more ways than one, on the booth as well as on the field. May he rest in peace, Tim McCarver, and it's to see the people that you grew up watching going to rest. It makes you appreciate the ones we listening now. We noticed that we saw John Madden, Pat Summerall, a long list, and he's on that Rushmore of those kind of broadcaster. We got to say goodbye to Mal Barber, not so long ago in the NBA. As us as Knicks fans, we have World Clyde Frazier, a national treasure there, Mike Breen, just those guys there that we appreciate, and McCarver for baseball. If you're a Met or Yankee, regardless, when you think of, and he may have been a St. Louis Cardinal player, and at the end of his run here, national broadcaster. But all in all, I think of him as a New York broadcaster. For both teams with the Mets, the way he was critical. If he didn't like anything in the organization or any moves, he will say it. And my God, if you thought, the mid '90s when the Yankees were coming up and cutting their teeth there, getting good with the dynasty, he was part of that. and then of course part of the booth, and then we all know what happened with when he no longer was the Yankees. He went national. Michael Kay came in. Sterling and Kay were the radio guys. Long story short, with that, may Tim McCarver rest in peace, man. One of the pioneers and inspiring the new up and coming generation of broadcasters, the new Tim McCarvers, the new. I know Joe Buck. He's worked alongside of him, and he like him or don't like him. That was a good tandem when you thought of World Series. Also, with Bob Costas, another one, phenomenal broadcaster as well, and of course worked alongside McCarver, and they were just a staple when you talk about baseball, at least my generation. But he'll be missed by his family, and of course, may he rest in peace. And thank you for the good memories and inspiration as a broadcaster to Tim McCarver. All right. With that said, let's talk about some Yankees here, guys. We saw immediately a little injury note. Let's first start off with Nestor Cortez Jr. He is pulled out of the World Baseball Classic for Team USA. He said he was doing some exercises, some sprint, felt a tweak. He thought it was something like a cramp, but it happened a tweak of his hamstring. There is no danger of him missing significant time. He will be making the team and making his start for at least the opening day week. The opening week start, should be ready barring no other injuries. But just for precautionary, you see him pulled out of that World Baseball Classic. I think you're going to see that with a lot of different players with this World Baseball Classic. Anyone feels any type of tightness or discomfort, whether it's position players or pitchers, will be pulled from this Baseball Classic just to protect, because a lot of these major league clubs, they need to protect their investment for the regular season, and I think Nestor Cortez, with that precautionary tale, put a little bit of a scare to the New York Yankees. Personally, when I heard that, I was like, no, I need Nestor healthy. I need Nestor with no signs of neck injuries or possibly discomfort of any type whatsoever. The good thing is the hamstring, is the leg issues, but they could tend to be lingering. Hopefully not. And of course, remember he's coming off a year that he pitched the most innings in his career. And how is he gonna bounce back? Is there gonna be fatigue or a regression? Hopefully not. I believe with Nestor Cortez, he's not an overthrower who relies on using a lot of strength. He is a finesse pitcher. He uses change of speed, the grips, the angles, all that. I think he should be fine for Nestor Cortez Jr. Then we get the second bad news of our pitching staff is Frankie Montas. Frankie Montas is going to have surgery on the 21st for his shoulder. Said to be back at the end of the season. Um, I'm not gonna hold my breath. I do have a criticism. We when and I know everyone wants to roast the general manager Brian Cashman. Um, you could put some blame on that because he traded for Frankie Montas, but a lot of you guys, a lot of fan base was throwing a parade once they signed when they traded for Frankie Montas. I stay on record, and my video says it, and I've been saying that for a long time. The New York Yankees, before Frankie Montas, they should have traded. I know they say Luis Castillo. I even get it even further. They should have went after Manaya. Sharmanaya, I know he was available in spring, and he was a free agent. The Yankees didn't look that bad that way because they signed Rondon. And now hindsight 2020, I don't know if knowing the Frankie Montas situation, they might have signed Manaya at the offseason, brought him in. I know he wasn't so great with the San Diego Padres, but you bring a lefty to Yankee Stadium. You know the lefties do well in Yankee Stadium with that long left center field, Death Valley. If anyone really gets the ball hit straight away, a lot of times it's gonna die unless if it's the mid. If there's a summertime jet stream that the ball tends to carry in Yankee Stadium. But other than that, lefties are tough in Yankee Stadium, and you want to get his lefty there. Now with the news, back to Montas, I have a criticism. If you knew he had a sore shoulder and he had a bump shoulder, where why wait now into February to have this surgery and have this surgery, this procedure when it could have been done in November or December, and he possibly would have probably came back right before the All Star break. I question that. I could say, You also knew that he had some shoulder illness when you traded for him from Oakland, and I know he wasn't so great in the Bronx when he came over. I know we wanted to say, we were attributing maybe he had a when he was traded at that time he had a death in the family. You know, grieving. He was we gave him okay maybe his two starts or a couple three starts. He was grieving, wasn't prepared, wasn't mentally prepared to handle the pennant, the division race that the Yankees were in, especially in that month of August where they were free falling, and maybe he wasn't mentally there. But we'll give him a pass. Then he came up with a little. The shoulder acted up again. Again, not to concentration or conditioning or whatever the case was. You left him off the postseason. You brought him back in. There was such. I thought it was mishandled with Frankie Montas. Either he's not telling the truth, what was going completely wrong with him, or it was lost in translation. I don't believe I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna talk out of the side of my mouth here. I don't know if he talks fully fluently in English. But the Yankees got plenty of people on that staff that speak Spanish and English that are bilingual, and I believe that's not going to get lost in translation unless the player is being asked in a private situation and he doesn't want to be real, or the interpreter is not translating well, because I've seen that as well as a bilingual person. Whenever they go to these interpreters, either UFC, boxing, whatever the case is, and they never translate word for word or exactly the point where a boxer or a fighter, or anyone that they're interpreting says what they say in Spanish and it loses translation in English. I'm not saying I'm not saying that's what happened with Frankie Montas here. What I'm saying is that maybe it might have lost when they asked him one on one or through an agent. Remember, he is in a contract year. This is the worst thing that can happen for Frankie Montas, to wait for a contract year here. At the end of the year, he's a free agent. He has some great numbers with Oakland Athletics. He was pitching extremely well for the Athletics before getting a little bit of that shoulder soreness and coming over to the New York Yankees. Now, of course, I've been saying when I've done a couple of these podcast with the Bronx Bombers with the Yankees. And then when I had my guest on, of course, I want to take a moment to shout out of my friends from the Fortran Express, Mikey Mazda. Thank you, Mikey Mazda. Check his channel out as well. You also 161 River Ave, Jason, a friend of the program. Got to meet him through Mikey Mazda, the Fortran Express, as well as Yankee Morning Brew, the Morning Brew crew there, and the Knights of Dejan, Hector, as well as Chris the Flash, my partner. Check out his channel as well. That my partner here on the watch along. We do the Bronx Bombers watch alongs, the games when we watch along, and of course everyone that supports the BS Sports Jedi Network, as well as the Bronx Bombers Strike Back podcast. Thank you guys. Again, you can follow us anywhere on Spreaker, anywhere on Amazon Music, and Apple, Google Podcast, Spreaker FM, Anchor FM, Spotify, and of course the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and Rumba. It's all BX Sports Jedi Network. It's all the same all through across the social platforms. And thank you guys for joining us again. Again. So now what do the Yankees do? I think the Yankees, for the first half of the season, they'll stay internal. They'll keep that the number 5 spot is open competition. I believe, in my opinion, in spring training. The candidates here are, to me, the candidates: Domingo Germán, first one on board. Of course, there's a reason why they didn't get rid of Domingo Germán, despite of his off-field issues. Like him or don't like him, if he might be the worst person outside of the field. Whatever. We all know that was an ugly situation, but he still has value to the team. He could be long relief, come out and be a fifth starter. You could piecemeal the fifth starter with Domingo Germán or Clark Schmidt. Remember, Clark Schmidt, before imploding in the postseason and fading down the stretch, he was a really talented, good arm out of the bullpen. He had good stuff. He was groomed to be a starter to begin with. And maybe, now in spring training, you start stretching him, possibly being your fifth starter here. You could let him try to win that spot along with Domingo Germán. And another name here to keep an eye, two names that I think that you could keep an eye out for the fifth spot. Don't forget Luis Gil. Luis Gil was pitching extremely well 2 years ago before the injury last year, man, and he's coming back from Tommy John. His full year off. And see what his stuff is. Let's see how his stuff looks in the spring. If his stuff starts to look sharp, if he looks sharp, it looks in control. Looks like he can get hitters out. Don't not um, be surprised if they keep Schmidt and Herman in the bullpen, which they're familiar roles. And of course, you're gonna have a lot of off days, and of course, you'll be able to skip a start here and there. But don't be surprised if Luis Heel has an opportunity to win that fifth starting role for the New York Yankees. Another name that could be possibly have a resurgence, and a name that we forgot, and of course, we see that he has pitched in the major league level. Yeah, heck, he even started a playoff game for the New York Yankees. Regardless, it was just one inning, but it's the young kid. The young kid, uh, um, I forget his name just now. I just had his name on the tip of my tongue. Sorry about that, guys. The young kid. Uh, ooh, let's go with the young kid. I forgot. My apologies, guys. This is live in living color. I usually have my notes, but I did it electronically, and I hit the wrong send button, the save button, and I lost the notes there. And Davy Garcia, there it is, guys. See, when you get old, you get those. You tend to forget things there. So Davy Garcia could be a resurgence name that could have a redemption story here in the spring. Davy Garcia was last seen on that in the major league. He did come up last year, wasn't so great. He struggled. He's been struggling a little bit, but you know what? Maybe an off-season program, working, focusing. He's in a pinnacle part. Either the Yankees going to move him in a deal. You can only protect 40 men on your roster. Now, if guys are not um, showing progression. Cashman is one of those who will try to move some players that have been in the career minor league system or there for a while, and they can't protect all 40 men, or they don't, or let them go in a Group 5 draft, won't get protected. All those different things. Davy Garcia is one of those names there. I think they're going to give him an opportunity to try to win now with the Montas injury, an opportunity to try to resurgence and possibly try to win that number 5 spot as well. But he's a dark horse. Don't mean that he's a dark horse. I like the wild card of Luis Heel because we tend to forget about Luis Heel. He has some real good stuff before injury on that there. And of course, when we're talking about not protecting all the 40-man roster, Esteban Florial. It's a name that you got to be careful there. I don't think if he doesn't show any promising here in the spring, where he might be there as an emergency. I'm not saying he's going to win the left field job. I think in case they need him to bring him up an injury, the first outfielder from the minor leagues brought up. He's got to show something in the spring. The Yankees got to see something. He's been too long in the minor league system. He is going to be falling into the Tyler Wade situation, a career minor leaguer, a quadruple A ball player, not a major leaguer, a quadruple A, a little bit too good for triple A, but just not good enough for the majors. And I think Esteban Florial might fall into that category. One thing that's going to be on Esteban Florial's side is speed. Now that the base changing rules, and I'm glad I bought this segment now. Now there's rules change. Of course, now we're seeing that the ghost runner is permanent. Personally, a lot of people dislikes that ghost runner situation or the rule. Personally, as a person who likes to watch baseball, I love watching baseball. I'm one of the few who enjoy it. Could it be a little too long? Absolutely. I'm gonna be the first one. I love it. I enjoy it. I don't mind the 3 hour baseball game if it's well played and there's action, there's moving. Even if they're good defensive play in one, I enjoy that. The hit and run, the bases stealing, I enjoy that. But I understand when if we get to extra innings, we kind of want to see a conclusion and ending. You don't want that killing your bullpen. I kind of wanted I'm in the minority. I do like the ghost runner. Believe it or not, I actually do. It employs the teams at times to play strategy baseball, especially got that runner at second. And if you could just bunt them over. If you're the road team, that's the first thing I'll do. Get that runner over to third with less than one out and get on the board, because now you put the pressure on the home team. Because if they don't score, they lose, and then they gotta play situational baseball. You never know when they might get the top of their lineup. Where like let's say I love the Yankees, who don't bunt for nothing. A lot of teams are not doing that anyway. But if you're one of those teams like the Guardians that will bunt, move guys over, do something, and you got a team like that don't, and they go out there and they swing and a miss, one out, the next guy pops up, 2 outs, and you still got to run at second base. All you need is get that ground, and then they roll over a ground ball, and you win the game because you play small ball. That's the only reason why I do like the Ghost Runner. It forces some teams who don't have the bopping or don't have the means of the natural talent to try to manufacture runs and try to bring that run in. I love that about the Ghost Runner. It brings a different strategy. I know people dislike it. It's corny baseball. I hey, we could go round and round in circles, to each his own. I kind of like it because it cuts to a conclusion after 2.5 to almost 3 hours of 9 inning baseball. We don't want another 2 hour game on top of that. It won concessions. People, the stadiums look empty. People got to go, got to work, leave. It doesn't look aesthetically well on TV as well. With people leaving the stadium while the game is still going on and no one's there at the end. And yeah, it's just, I just like it. That's just me. That's just me. Also, the base pads, about a couple more 4 more inches longer. A lot of players are complaining, or whatever the case is. Um, Listen, they're doing something there for safety. Only thing I can say though, the only thing I have a little bit of a pushback, they're a little bit too thick, too high. They want to make them a little more flatter, especially if you want to avoid the ankle injuries, the rolling of an ankle. They're kind of high when you step on it. You see a lot of. I'm surprised a lot of major leaguers don't, because of course we learn when you're a kid, the little league, you learn how to run the bases, you learn how to step on those bags on the bases. But now they're a little more bigger. Let's see how that looks. I don't think it's nothing. I don't. Only thing I can say is either they say advantage base runner because it's a little more bigger to get closer to it. You could say the other way, advantage to infielder, because now on a routine ground ball he could stretch a little longer. And the base is 4 more. You got 4 more inches of extra out to get if you're a long reach at first base. So it goes both ways. I'm okay with that. Remember, there is no shift. The shift is abolished now. I think you're going to see a lot of, again. I said it last podcast and other podcasts before. I think the left-handed hitters, their batting averages are going to increase. I think batting averages are going to start increasing around the league. Players are going to get a little more resurgence. They're going to get some more hits where normally they would have been taken out. It'll be interesting to see how they combat analytics wise with certain pitches. Maybe they'll want to now pitch inside the inside corner and jam hitters. It'll be interesting that as well. Also, base runners. Again, I now go back to Esteban Florio. I teased it before I went on this a little bit of a rules changing. Now, if you can only try to pick off your runner, you get 2 attempts now at that base runner. If you throw one the first time over, fine. If you throw the second time over, after that it's a balk if you don't pick the runner off. If you try to throw over again back to first, you don't pick the runner off, he will be awarded second base on a balk or any of the bases. Now, if that base runner steals the base at second base, and then you get 2 more attempts back at it. Or if you catch a base runner out or the next hitter reaches, so it resets after either out or the base runner advance or steals. So it's going to be a little bit tricky there. I think it's going to cause a little bit more of a. I think it's going to cause a little bit of a delay or hiccups there. I know they want to try to get cute to try to speed up the game. But sometimes a game that's invented over 100 plus years, you gotta leave it alone. If it ain't broke, don't fix. I understand why you could try to speed it up, and dare I say this, you guys wouldn't even dare to. Well, don't go through all those lengthy commercials. Well, but then if who's going to pay for the Major League Baseball? How are we going to make revenues? See, you got a double-edged sword. You want to speed it up, but then you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to still have the same amount of commercials, the same amount of length in your commercials, but you want to speed it up at the expense of others, on the ball players, and with all these silly fuzzy rules that I think is going to confuse the living crap out of some of these players. Also, they're going to emphasize more of the balk. I believe they're going to look at it. They're going to start calling more balks. This is going to be a little bit that's going to drive people nuts, because I know David Cohn says this a lot. A lot of times, a lot of these moves are balks. What's a balk, what's not a balk. So the interpretation of a balk, I believe this balk move, I hope not, it's going to be similar to a catch no catch when it comes to the NFL. Please don't. Like I said again, if it's not broken, don't fix. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this Major League Baseball commissioner, Rob Manfred, I'm not a fan. I think he's changing, doing a lot of dumb things. I understand, you want to innovate. We don't want to stay stuck. Oh, but you want to come to the times. You don't want to stay stuck in times. There's nothing wrong with a good classic, and baseball is it's an Americana classic. Why try to change it? Why try to change it? You could make it better, yes, with technology, the stadiums, the experience, the high definition quality. But starting changing with adding rules, and now you're becoming complicated with it's regular rules before all this changes, and some of these umpires don't even know, and it's pretty tedious. Some of these umpires don't know some of these rules, and now you're adding different sets of rules or changing. It's starting to get too football-y, gimmickly, and I personally don't like it. Call me an old relic, call me an old partner. Look, I just forgot about Davey Garcia a few minutes ago. I have my own program instead of writing notes. So call me old. I'm even making fun of my own self. Um, Personally, I don't like the fact that they're changing, adding that rule. That's just me. But let's hope. Hey, let's hope. Let's see what happens. I hope for the best. I'm still gonna watch the product. I still love my New York Yankees. Still, I love baseball. It's in my blood no matter what. Would I get frustrated and upset? Absolutely. I probably ran. I probably do a video ranting about the a game that was caused by a couple balks, and oh my god, I could smell it. I could smell it. I could see it coming in the future. But it is what it is, with it. So we'll see how that turns out. Also, I wanted to talk about Aaron Judge taking ground balls at first base. Is that a thing to, or it's just him fooling around in spring training, creating some grounders, getting just is he really learning a new position to give Rizzo a day off? Be honest, I don't think the Yankees have a backup first baseman. I'm not saying that Judge is going to play first base all the time, but they kind of, DJ LeMahieu is on the club, yes, but DJ LeMahieu lately has been breaking down, getting some injuries here, nagging injuries there. In the case of the Yankees not having a backup first baseman in a pinch, maybe they got a pinch or a tough lefty matchup. They want to pinch it Rizzo. They could move Judge to first base, whatever the case, a base runner. In extras, the post runner situation, they need to tie or go ahead, and then pitch run, Rizzo and doesn't come around to score. You lose your first baseman. Who's going to play first? LeMahieu's not in the game. You can probably move Aaron Judge to first. Maybe that's what they're doing, the Yankees. I think we're making a little bit too much out of nothing. We want to see something because it got us excited when we heard about that news. The Judge was taking grounders at first, although a 6'6", 6'8", first baseman, will look nice there at Judge. But I like Rizzo, just in case there. Other than that, we all know that on the 25th of February, it is the first game at Clearwater in Philadelphia against Philadelphia. Clearwater is right next to George Steinbrenner Field, about maybe 10, 20 minutes away. Not even, it's down the I-4 to 60. Not that far, guys. It's not that far. I live in Central Florida, so I can tell you that. Then, of course, they'll play their first home game also, is on the 26th, the next day, in George Steinbrenner Field against the Atlanta Braves. Cool. The Yankees are going to have 7 of their 17 home games on Fridays. 2 on Fridays, 2 on Saturdays, and 3 on Sundays. So that'll be fun. A couple split squads. That game on the 26th is going to be a split squad versus Atlanta, and they're going to play in Toronto. Toronto's not far either from Steinbrenner Field. They're going to be not down the road. You probably send a lot of the kids out on the road, and the home game against the Braves will be most of the Yankee starters there. Of course, the Yankees. Of course, we mentioned in the last video. Check out last video that we put here, and in the other podcast about the invites into spring training. I mentioned all those names there. Of course, the Yankees will be visiting the East Coast of Florida on the 22nd of March, and the 23rd they'll be in Washington and St. Louis. They won't play the Mets. That's the East Coast, Washington. That's over there by uh, West Palm Beach. So that's that area there. Of course, they'll be playing Detroit out in Lakeland. Detroit Tigers out in Lakeland area. Before the Guardians, okay, the Indians used to be here, but now they're in Arizona. That was also in Winter Haven. That was close by, but as more and more teams kind of gets the Grapefruit League is getting a little thinner because the Cactus, they got so much room out there in Arizona, so close by amenities. But I still think you always have going to have that East Coast influence with the Grapefruit League here in Florida. I mean, it's only an hour and a half, 2 hour flight if you're living in New York. I mean, you get away spring break. Winter recess is coming up, I believe, this week or next week for you kids, for everyone up in New York with the kids. You know, perfect timing. You want to come and check out. The workouts are free. You come out, check out the Yankees there. Other news and notes for the Yankees. Well, other than that, I haven't seen any other thing other than the spring training. Looking forward to seeing all the coaches. Just thing that people are reaching about Mariano Rivera, what he said about his introduction music to everything we as trumpets. He just said, you know what? When you hear, and it's the truth, when you hear Sandman coming in, you only think of Bob Shepard in the background. Ladies and gentlemen, number 42, Mariano Rivera, number 42, coming in with the Sandman. He's gonna, and you think about World Series, you're gonna close out. You know, they're gonna close the world. They're gonna close the. Here comes Mariano Rivera trying to shut down an opportunity. The Yankees go back to the World Series or win the World Series, and check the greatest closer of all time. I mean, don't get me wrong. The trumpet is really nice for the Mets, and it gets the 10,000 people in New York in Citi Field all excited. But we're talking about World Series here. You know, no apples to oranges or apples to rocks. I mean, for them to make a story out of it and getting mad at Mariano Rivera, he didn't say it in a condescending way. All he said was, when you associate Enter the Sandman, you're thinking about World Series and championships. And when you think of trumpet, it's for the 10,000 people in Citi Field. That's gonna and you know what, Edwin Diaz, you have one great season in New York as a closer. Now let me see you come and close out for the Mets the World Series, and then we'll put the trumpet song as a really memorable song. That's all I'm thinking. That's all me. And listen, I like the Mets. I'm not taking a jab at them, but when you want to come after Mariano Rivera like that, and he's the most humblest man in the world, and make it seem like he was being arrogant, I gotta, you know what? I gotta push back on that. He's not. That man is nowhere near being arrogant or facetious or salty. No way, no how. He's just a man who just gave an honest opinion. So that's just the last thing I have for myself there. With that, we'll see what the Yankees do from here on. Any news or notes or anything happens, a possible trade or pickup of a fifth starter, or they bring in a veteran, possibly they're trying to win the fifth starter, take a look at as an invite. We'll see. We'll keep that out there. Just a little bit notes outside of Yankee related. Jacob DeGrom, he came up with a pull side. They just shut him down for precautionary. They're going to revamp him, so he missed the first few days of workout. Boy, I hope Jacob DeGrom is not injury prone. I actually want to see him make some starts for the Texas Rangers. I hope he's not damaged goods for the Rangers. Boy, the Mets will dodge a bullet there if he is not healthy, and boy, and it's not Jacob's fault. The Mets wanted him back, but he went and take the money. I don't blame him. And also there's there's also rumors with the Ohtani, if he's going to pitch, not happy. So that's whatever other issues come around. We'll save some notes and we'll bring it up on the next podcast here on the Bronx Bombers Strike Back. So I want to thank you guys again. I'm making sure this is a short video, just talking about things and news and notes for the Yankees. Again, thank you guys for joining me this evening. I can't wait for Yankees. So we got another week before spring training. We get the balls and strikes going along. We're here with John and Susan, Michael K, and all the guys there. And of course, everyone here on my watch alongs as well. So I can't wait to see everyone. So I am BX Sports Jedi Kev. Thank you for all the support. And may the sports be with you. May the Yankees be with you. We'll see you next time.
Do not hesitate. Show no mercy.
You don't know the power of the dark side. We would be